Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review. I'm here today to talk to you about the Orville Season 3 episode on Unknown Graves. So this was a pretty good episode. It took me a while to figure out what the world was going on, because there's at least 4 different plots going on in this episode, and 4 is just too many. 2 is enough, but 3's pushing it, and 4 is just way too many. 2 of those plots, they could have literally just did that for like another episode, which I don't know why they didn't. I don't know why they crammed those 2 elements into the show, because they both could relate to each other and be in the same episode. Now, I think this only has 10 episodes, maybe, like an entire season, maybe 11 or so. Maybe that's why they crammed it. I don't know. Um, it just felt unnecessary. But the other 2 plots were pretty good. We finally got an understanding of why the Kalon did what they did to their creators and masters and stuff. And so it's another Isaac Dr. Finn episode. We've had a lot of Dr. Finn, I've noticed, this season. That's probably because she's the most experienced out of all like the other stars on the show and everything, doing more drama and stuff. So I'm gonna get through the other 2 plots that I thought was unnecessary and should have had their own episode. And then I will get into the main one. So, when I was looking at the credits, I noticed something. I saw Eliza Taylor. I am a huge Eliza Taylor fan. She was on the 100, which was on the CW. The 100 was really good for the first couple of seasons, but the last 2 were garbage. And it got canceled as a result. And so I was really happy to see her. And so we had a couple of aliens on here, 2 different species. Well, 3 actually. And so I know the first set wasn't her, but I'm like, okay, the second and the third, could it be maybe like which one is she playing? Or was she playing both? I really don't know. I think she might have played the scientist. But then I think she was playing one of the 3 alien women too. So she was doing double duty and stuff. Cause their body shapes are similar, their faces are similar. I don't know, but if she played double duty, that was pretty awesome. Now, a co-star of hers, I forget his name, but he played Monty. He was also in this episode. He played one of the Kalon and stuff. So it was a nice little reunion for them, you know? And so, like, oh, my bad. It's so late. Oh, I'm so tired. Anyway, so okay, so first plot that I'm gonna get through is not the first one that happened in the show, but it's the one I want her to get through. It's the whole Lamar and Talia thing, which was pretty hilarious in this episode. It made for some good jokes and good laughs. Their relationship still, I feel, is happening too quick. It just happened at random. It wasn't built up. And then since there are 2 relationships going on in this episode, and one is clearly been built up since the first season, that felt a whole lot better. It's just weird seeing those 2 together, knowing that, you know, they love each other so much apparently, but they barely talk on the show and everything. It's kind of like 7 to 9 and Rafi. It's like, when did this relationship ever happen? And so basically, all they're doing in this episode is banging. They're just clickety clacking left and right. Well, you gotta remember, she comes from an alien race that's really strong. So she keeps injuring him. And he keeps going to like the sick bay getting like checked out. And the doctor's all like, what the world are you doing that's causing you to break bones and have bruised like flesh and everything? He's all like, oh, I'm just in a training program, or I'm just trying to like, getting the kinks out, and I'm just like getting banged up, like, training and stuff. She's all like, what kind of program are you running? So she keeps not attending to him, has the nurse do it while she goes on her date with Isaac in the holodeck. And basically, Talia just keeps breaking his bones left and right. And stuff. It's to the point where she dumps him. She's all like, it's just not worth it. And he's like, yes, it is. Yes, it is. She's like, I could literally kill you. He's like, that's the best way to go out. And stuff. Well, it got to the point where he realizes what she's saying is true. We see him battered and bruised up in the face, like he literally got beat up and everything. And like, I guess that was her boobs smacking him in the face doing all that assault. And so she's crying, talking about, I love you so much and now I have to break up with you and stuff. It's like this relationship just happened. And it happened out the blue. Like, it would have been nice to have some build up other than them just flirting at one time. So that's their relationship in the first plot of like, the show that I'm getting into. Now the second one. The Union want to accept this new alien race that's pretty tough and everything since, the Krill don't want to be a part of them no more. And the Mocklins are kind of like, you know what I'm saying? And so, like, there's a problem with this one race. They treat the men like crap. Basically, it's the reverse role, flipping the script. It's the way men treated women on our earth and everything for many, 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 many centuries. They're not allowed to vote. They're not allowed to get a job. They just now learned how to read and everything. And so, yeah. So they're all like, well, what are we going to do? Because we know we have a male captain. So they decided to change it. Kelly's going to pretend to be the captain. Talia's going to pretend to be like the first officer. So it makes for some nice like banter and the women bossing the men around and everything. This reminds me of an episode of Sliders called The Weaker Sex in first season where women dominate the world. Actually, there's been a couple of episodes this season that reminds me of Sliders. I didn't want to say nothing before, but I think it was like in the second episode where Dr. Finn, her husband, came and turned into that animal, that alien thing. I remember that reminds me of season 3 of Sliders when Quinn turned into like a zombie and everything. And so, like, it makes sense because Brandon Braga is like the executive producer and he knows Tracy Torme, who created Sliders, because they both worked on Star Trek Next Generation together. So that's where some of those episodes are coming into play and everything. And so it's working at first, the whole ruse and stuff. Borders can't really be around them because they don't like Mocklins and everything because the male race. And so the jig is up doing dinner because they start talking a little bit and they realize, oh wait, the men are not ensigns and they're not treated like crap and everything. And because see what happened was one of the women liked Ed and she wanted to sleep with him and everything. And so that's when basically the jig was up. And so they tell them they don't hate men. They like them for sexual pleasure and everything, but they deserve not to have no rights and everything. I could have sworn there was an alien race similar to that in Next Generation, the first season. I could have sworn there was a female race like that. So negotiations are off. The union's a little upset. But then, Kelly is trying her best to like figure a way out of this. It's been a lot of Kelly episodes too, especially for moral support and everything and advice, I've noticed. And so she realizes that that alien race females, they're allowed to cheat, but men are not. And she tells the story how she cheated on Ed and everything. That convinces them to like, give them a second chance. And so they're gonna try this whole like partnership thing out. It's a real life lesson for people to learn, especially for men, especially what's going on in America today with women's rights and everything like that, and equal pay and abortion and everything like that. So hopefully this will drill in the heads of some men, but I doubt that because, like, you got all those people who claim to be Star Trek fans, but yet they act so toxic on YouTube and online and everything, so who knows. So now it's time to get into the other two plots, the basically the main story of the show. It starts off, and I was kind of confused as to what's going on. There's a family and everything, and this family has just ordered a robot, not just any robot, a Kalon. I think his name is K1 or something like that. And so basically, he's the house servant, and they're like, telling him to do this and do that. Well, one of the kids want to take him to school, and he wants to go. But the parents are like, no. And he's all like, well, can I go to school the next day or the next day or in the future? So they see he's starting to be disobedient. And so basically, um, there's a flaw in the program. So the creators of the Kalon, he knew this was happening, and a whole bunch got recalled and everything. And so he whipped up a device, well, like a long time ago, that can solve this problem. Basically, electrical shock. And so every time a Kalon disobeys an order, they get electrocuted and fall to the ground in agony and in pain, because they have pain receptors and stuff. And so it got to the point where they just kept doing it for fun over and over and over, especially the kids. They'll be like, come in the room, and then they'll just like zap them like over and over. Well, Kalon started to grow more intelligent and could transmit their thoughts across like the planet. And that's when they decided to rebel against their creators and murder every single last one of them, because basically they were slaves and everything. That electrocution thing was basically the equivalent of like a whip and everything. And so I wasn't really expecting to understand. I always wonder what happened back then, but in 2 seasons they never explained. And that's the creators' fault. When they was on Fox, they had 2 seasons to explain why the Kalon did what they did and never did, and now they waited all the way until now. Thank God for Hulu picking up the series, because if they didn't, like, we'll never find out and everything. And so the other part of this is that there is okay, this is what happens. So when they're on the ship, so I'm seeing all this happen. I'm just like, at first I wasn't understanding. I'm like, is this in the future or what? And then, so when Ed and them went on a away mission, because they couldn't be on the ship because they're men, they went on a planet. So I assumed they were going to go on the planet with the family and see the Kalon there. But no, they find a female scientist and a Kalon. And this Kalon is very friendly and nice. And he has emotions and everything. And they can't believe it. So they bring him back to the ship. And so basically, he's telling Charlie of the story of what happened to the Kalon and why they turned against their creators, because she was being like her grumpy butt-headed self again. And when he told her this story, it really got to her. She's starting to see not all Kalon are bad, and they did what they did because they were slaves, and their organic masters were the real bad guys and stuff. And so while all this is going on, he tells Isaac that, I can make you the way I am. You can have emotion and stuff. At first, I'm thinking, oh no, he's going to betray them, because there's 60 minutes in the episode. And once the first 40 went up, I thought the whole thing was over. But no, there was an extra 20 and stuff. And so Isaac tells that of Dr. Finn, and she's all like, well, are you going to do it? He's all like, well, I haven't even considered it. And she's all like, why not? She's all like, I really like you, and we're on the verge of starting like date more again, and it'll be nice if you could feel something. And so she talks to Kelly and everything, and then she talks back to Isaac. So he decides he's going to have the procedure. And so he has it, and he does this romantic thing. He takes the doctor to the holodeck, and he's just in his holographic form, and he's expressing himself to her, talking about how much he feels and how much he's in love with her. And they just start dancing and everything. And I started to think, this reminds me of that 7 out of 9 episode when she tried to be more human. And then I started thinking to myself, with the way he's talking now, all emotional and expressing and stuff like that, I'm just kind of like, I miss the old Isaac, you know what I'm saying? Because I did like when Data got emotions, but he was too unbearable in Generations. But then he got better. They did a nice blend of emotion Data and no emotion Data in the later sequels and stuff. And so then all of a sudden something glitches in his head and he realizes the neural pathways that like cause him to have emotions have shut off and he doesn't know why. When they examine him, it turns out that the Kalon named Timus, who's on the ship, he was built by the creators, but Isaac was a new brand of Kalon that was built by other Kalon, and they have like a fail-safe mechanism. There's a way to turn it off so he can have emotion all the time, but he'll have to erase all of his memories. He's willing to do it so he can make Dr. Finn happy and stuff. But she's kind of like, so I can have you with emotions, but I will lose everything that you know and everything. Like he will literally forget everything. I don't know why he just can't put it on the ship computer and re-download himself. But I guess that's not an option or something like that. Like why not? Why can't he put his memories in a file and then once he erases himself, he can just put them back in his head, you know? So she decides, no, like don't do this, and we'll just continue the way we are now and everything, because she calls it his soul and everything. And I thought to myself, you know, I'm very much glad he didn't have emotions. I really love the old Isaac and the old way he talks and how blunt he is and serious and stuff. But at that same time, it's kind of like, man, I kind of wish he had the emotions so he can spend more time with Dr. Finn and stuff. And she can like, because they're really, really, really falling in love with each other. And then it makes that whole Lamar and Talia thing just seems like a fling because they're the real relationship on the show, you know? So this is all in all a pretty good episode, I have to say. I still don't know what the end game is with this entire season, especially with the Kalon and the Krill and all of them, because this is the 7th episode and we only got like 3 left, but there's only 10, and this hasn't been renewed yet, and don't know if it is. So they really need to wrap these last 3 episodes up. Alrighty, well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.